All right, good evening, and thank you for joining us on the latest episode of the Social Zee Franchise Happy Hour. I'm Calvin Smith, who I'll be hosting this evening. I've got two gentlemen with me. I got Eric and Christopher, different parts of the country, different parts of the franchise world, but a lot to share and a lot to learn from them today. So to kick us off, as usual, I'll ask each of you to give us a quick intro. Eric, why don't you give us a quick introduction of your name, brand, your location, and then just the specifications about your business.
Yeah, you bet. So my name is Eric Litster, and I'm with P3 Cost Analysts. We are responsible for cost recovery and cost reduction of all types of different clients and organizations, whether for-profit and non-profit. And I'm here in Utah, this wonderful state. However, I have no territory, and so I'm able to work throughout the United States.
Awesome. And Eric, how long have you been in the franchise business?
I've been in the franchise business just over a year.
Perfect. And last question that we have for you, Eric. This is the Franchise Happy Hour. Are you drinking anything this evening, or are you keeping it since it's early over there?
I'm gonna surprise you. I've got a 1 gallon of water, and I would just say that Bobby Boucher would be proud. I've got some high quality H2O here with me.
There we go. Awesome. I love it. All right. Thanks, Eric. And Christopher, can you give us that same introduction?
Yeah, Chris Vales out of Greenville, South Carolina. I own the Grout Medic is the franchise I'm going to highlight today. It's a tile business. We do have territories, unlike P3, so we're subject to our local area, and we do residential and commercial tile work for our customers. We either clean tile, replace the grout, install new tile, whatever a customer would need from us. But in addition to that, what makes me a little bit unique is I'm a franchise consultant, and I own a company called Horizon Consulting Partners, and my partners and I help individuals across the country, kind of like Eric, not having territories. I work nationwide as well, helping candidates look into a variety of options into franchising. Work with P3. I see some brands there with Calvin in the back with Signurama and CertaPro. Work with those companies, but we work with over 500 plus companies, so we stay pretty busy.
Awesome. Thanks for going through that, Chris. And Chris, what about you? It's a little later on the East Coast right now. Are you drinking anything, or are you drinking water as well?
I'm doing the same thing. I'm double fisting. Look, we got water, and then we have actually one of the franchise brands, the Maids. We got coffee. So you need some caffeine, you need some Maids 2.0. So that's about it.
All right. Well, perfect. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for going through that. So I am, as I mentioned earlier to Eric, I am in the process of moving offices, and so I had to find something to drink here. So I did find this bottle of Diplomatico rum here, and so I will slowly sip on that, since you guys are abstaining as well. But we'll keep it moving here. So Chris, if you could take this next one, tell us a little bit about what you did before franchising, why you bought the franchise brand that you own, and then also maybe how you got into the consulting side of it as well.
Yeah, I was a medical device rep for about 15 years before I decided to come into franchising. I love the industry, but probably like most people, I wanted to do something that I had control over. And it's always the biggest challenge that I face, probably like most people face, is making that leap of faith. You're kind of on that corporate corporate treadmill. I call it the rat wheel. And it's just, the mundane day-to-day, Monday through Friday. But taking the leap was fearful. I didn't have an additional income. I didn't have a wife to support me through that move. It's just everything on my savings. So I was a little bit apprehensive, and then, like most people, probably scared that a franchise would, why am I paying a franchise fee? Why am I paying royalties? What am I getting with all this? Is this kind of a scam? So I was kind of hesitant. I was not easy to convince. What ultimately convinced me was a former CEO of Yum Brands. He's an area developer. I still believe his name is Mike Kern. He owned several Long John Silvers. And it was one of my mom's clients. My mom would clean houses at people's homes, and he was one of the clients. Really nice gentleman. I remember I was living in Miami, Florida. He said, read the E-Myth. And I started reading books and started getting into franchising. And long story short, to not take too much time, I led into getting into my first brand. And from there, it's just taken off. The reason I got into consulting outside of just owning a franchise was when I was looking, I never felt that I had my version of me that I was looking for in the consulting world. I'm a very straightforward, kind of blunt type of individual. And I didn't feel like I had that when I was looking into opportunities. And I didn't feel like anyone would relate to me. I think everyone was much older. So I wanted somebody who was a little bit, a little greener, a little younger, a little bit more ambitious, but somebody who was kind of, more my style. So I said, look, why not just do it myself? So I have a passion for people, so that's what developed Horizon Consulting Partners and me getting into franchising.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for going through that information. So Eric, same question over to you. Why did you buy P3 and what got you into the franchise?
Yeah, fantastic question. I spent 20 plus years in corporate America leading sales organizations for technology companies. I led sales teams for Intel, for Cisco, for Microsoft, for cybersecurity companies. And unfortunately, I went through some downturns and got caught up in some of the, unfortunate situations that plague many folks in in corporate America. And having lost my job in November of 2019, I started continuing to look for, what I've been good at and have done through the years. But what I found was, if you've read the book Who Moved My Cheese, my cheese had moved. And unfortunately, after 250 plus resumes and multiple interviews and being the bridesmaid multiple times, I decided, similar to Chris, to take the leap. And it was a massive leap of faith. Similarly, I didn't have another source of income. I knew it would be 100% based, living on my savings, and I did what I burned the ships. So I literally burned the ships, and I decided, let's go in this direction. And I decided to move forward with a franchise. It was definitely the most difficult decision I've ever made. Similar to Chris, I wasn't easily convinced. It took a lot of persuasion, a lot of study, a lot of interviews with other franchisees, and ultimately I decided, hey, I'm gonna do this, and made that decision.
Great. Thanks, Eric. It's interesting you mentioned Who Moved My Cheese, and I think Chris mentioned E-Myth. A lot of times we as entrepreneurs read these long, kind of somewhat boring at times, business books, but then we forget about these, these fables, right? These business fable books that are real easy to read, real interesting. If they catch you at the right time, they can be life-changing, right? And so both of those are really good books. Eric, why did you decide on P3? I'm sure you looked at some other brands and looked at some other opportunities. What made you decide on P3 as an investment?
Yeah, I definitely had some criteria, and as I worked with my franchise consultant, I wanted to look at a business that checked several boxes, and the boxes included one, that it was a service. I wanted to sell a service, and in the climate that we're in with respect to COVID, seeing brick and mortar businesses shut down, I wanted something that it didn't require a brick and mortar business. Again, a service that could be sold 100%, something that would help people and help organizations, and one that didn't require me to invest in additional headcount, so other employees. And P3 checked all of those boxes, and also unlimited income, earning potential. Obviously, having been in the sales world, that's a motivator, that's a driver. And so I decided, hey, yeah, you know what, P3 is a good move. Now, I did look at multiple franchises, not just P3, and not just in this financial cost recovery space, but you name it, I looked at it. Yeah, but ultimately, I just slowly whittled it down to P3 and its offerings. Awesome.
And Chris, what about you? Obviously, being in the consulting space and being around this world for almost a decade now, what drove you to the brand that you ended up buying, and what was kind of the decision process there?
Well, the biggest thing is that I love service. Just like Eric, I've looked at multiple brands from brick and mortar to senior care, being that I came from the medical industry. And I wanted something that was a low-cost investment, something that had a nice gross profit margin, just an overall nice return. And when I looked at brands even like CertaPro and other brands out there, which are incredible companies, the service space is such a nice place to be, whether you're providing financial benefit to companies like Eric is. And by the way, Eric, I helped a franchise owner named Jeff Berlinski, him and his wife, get into P3. Anyways, and then Calvin, my good bud, Rob Couch out of California, which I think he connected me with you at one point. Anyways, but when I looked into the space, the tile business is a very niche business. You see a lot of flooring companies out there, but you don't see a lot of tile business. So it's a very niche type of business, but I enjoy helping out customers. I enjoy being close to the customer. I love the freedom that it gives me. I love the fact that it's not brick and mortar. I love that I can do the business full time if I wanted to, but I run all my businesses very passively. And the fact that I'm a consultant running different businesses every single day, passively, part time, it's an testament that I try to educate many out there that you can there is no such thing as a part-time business. It doesn't exist. You need to either you do it full-time or you have a manager and you manage a manager. Now, if you're a consultant like Eric, I'm also a consultant too, but I have people, partners in the firm. But whatever you're doing, you need to be passionate. And what I'm passionate about is people, helping people solve problems and giving them a good service for a good value. And I think the franchise that I picked added the support that I needed. I had no idea what I was doing. They trained me, and they trained me how to run the business. I was able to hire the talent, manage that talent, and create a culture that really it's my own. And that's probably the most rewarding thing. I can sell my job today. If you're somebody listening to this podcast, all three of us are entrepreneurs. We can sell our businesses. If you're working for corporate America, you can't sell your title, no matter how high up the corporate ladder you are, unless you're in the board of directors. Then you may have a nice little gig there, their little golden umbrella. But if you're not executive vice president and you're not on the board, means you're just a really nice paid employee. So we own our jobs. You work hard at it, but at the end of the day, you have a reward. So, anyways, that's kind of my decision to where I got to where I'm at today.
All right, thanks, Chris. Thanks for running through that. So the next part of our conversation, one of the things that we all kind of do not talk about probably enough, or at least not openly, is what we're bad at, right? So we're not perfect. We're not, God's gift to whatever business we're doing. So what are the things that you struggle with as a business owner? What are the things that surprised you once you got into your own business that you weren't good at? And, what are some of the things that you're doing to overcome that? Eric, you want to kick us?
Yeah, you bet. So definitely for me, it was and is managing expectations. Again, coming from a corporate world where you have, benefits, income, a check coming in every week or so, plus, commissions on top of that, you rely on that. When you work as your own boss, obviously that changes. And I had some expectations coming in, and these expectations definitely were part of the reason why I chose P3. And unfortunately, those expectations in year one have not been met, and so that has been that's been a massive challenge for me. And how I'm working through it, all I can say is I'm just putting my head down and I'm continuing to dig and dig and dig and dig. And realizing again, similar to what I said earlier with respect to who moved my cheese, if the outcomes aren't there, you got to figure out a way to be successful. And it may not be the expectations that you originally had. Those may have to be changed.
Sure. Eric, what are some of those things that haven't been hit this first year? You mentioned some of those expectations.
Definitely revenue. Yeah, definitely revenue targets. I definitely had some expectations with respect to what I felt I could achieve and what others had accomplished that are other franchisees for P3. and definitely was hoping to achieve those. However, I haven't. So definitely revenue is first and foremost.
Chris, same question to you. What are some of the things that you've learned over this process that you're not good at, and what are your processes to overcome it?
Coming into this, I'll say that entrepreneurship is a very lonely world. It teaches you how to humble yourself, and I can't say that I've been the most humble person in life. And one thing that I definitely needed to improve on was how to lead my team. I was always very motivated. I've always been motivated, probably more so than other people that I've been around. But finding the whys and how to motivate others and whatever their goals are. Their goals are obviously not my goals. And how to treat people, how to create a culture that they can buy into. And what I've learned is, if I make it about my staff and my team, my goals will be achieved. And in the beginning, it was about me and me hitting my goals. And I put them somewhat last, not necessarily last, but I didn't, memorizing what their personal goals are, their family, the issues. It was more about the job, getting things done. And as I started realizing the errors that I was making with leading people, I learned that, to retain good quality staff and retention, I had to make it about them and create a goal that they bought into, not that I was having them buy into, like corporate America, right? And that has probably been one of the hardest and the best learning lessons that I have had in entrepreneurship and in franchising. I'm much better at it today, and you never stop learning. Another thing that I think I struggled with was, sometimes when you get into franchising, it's a proven model, it's a proven recipe, and we forget that the franchisors, these companies have already failed for you. But when they guide you and they say, hey, this is the proven ingredients and recipe, they're not a perfect company either. Don't get me wrong. There is no perfect franchise. But I kind of wanted to do a little bit of my own thing. And I realized that I was quickly not being successful as much as I should have been because I was doing slightly different from what they suggested and recommended. The second I got back on track, I recognized that my revenue stabilized, that my culture started changing, and I started working essentially on this guy, me. When I started working on me and focusing my efforts on others, that's really where my business started thriving. And since then, it's been thriving. But I think entrepreneurship, franchising, it's a collective family. For example, Eric is there now, and you. We're all franchise owners, different brands, but we're still doing the same thing, having our personal goals and things of that nature. But inside each of these brands, there's other franchise owners. Most franchisees fail to reach out to their other family. And franchising really can be a family if you want it to be. So the more you reach out to other successful entrepreneurs in your brand that have experienced similar like troubles and you learn from their mistakes, it'll help you to improve. And then when you do improve, when someone calls for help, remember the time when you called for help and give that same helping hand to somebody else. And those are all things that I have not been very good at. And through just humbling and making errors and just making mistakes, I've had to learn the hard way. Now I'm a much better, solid business owner today, and I'm constantly improving. And then today I get to coach people on those same exact facts.
Yeah, that's great, Chris. Having been through this now on my third brand, oftentimes I forget that I had to learn those things the hard way, and I'm having to relearn them, right? But not following the process, thinking that you have a better way than the other hundreds of people who've already tried and failed is a trap that we often fall into as franchise owners, for sure. And definitely the team building piece, right? We all, leading people in a corporate environment is much different than leading people in a small business, environment that you own and that you're trying to build, right? Because everyone counts, and they, oftentimes have better opportunities. So you really got to find that why for them, for sure. Absolutely. So next question here, guys. What has been the biggest change in your business over this last year? Obviously, 2020 was a wild one for all of us. 2021 hopefully has been better. But what's been some of the biggest changes, good and bad? And what do you see changing over the next few months?
Yeah, again, this is such an education for me. Being in my first year of entrepreneurship, But I think one of the things that has been a learning or a key learning has been the fact that it is all about one word in our business, and that is the word trust. And I'm quickly finding out that in a business where over 70% of our business is referral based, if you are not trusted, it's incredibly difficult to gain traction and or hit your revenue targets. And I think it goes also, one of the surprises that I've experienced this year is the fact that our business is a contingency model. It's a pay for performance shared savings type model. And you would think, man, that's such a no-brainer. But if they don't truly understand it, they don't trust you, and there is a pride issue, you definitely can struggle. And I've definitely seen that this year, despite a lot of companies that have significant, financial needs and cost reduction needs.
Eric, what are you doing to get over that trust factor, right? Because right now it's probably less likely that you're able to walk into someone's office or go have lunch and kind of build those relationships the way we all learned how to network and how to grow our business. What's the process you're following now with that? Yeah,
definitely. Again, focusing on referrals and working with those that I know, and definitely those individuals that are referring me, they've already built that trust with these potential prospects, and as they introduce me, that definitely helps that trust go both ways, whereas if I'm simply cold calling or reaching out for the first time and they have no idea who I am, it doesn't matter. It's definitely a too good to be true type thing. But I've found that working with contacts, friends, family, associates, if they are able to introduce me, the trust factor definitely is mitigated.
Chris, what about you? What's the biggest differences this year compared to last year, and good and bad? And what are the things you're focused on?
Well, I agree with Eric that trust is important amongst any business with anybody you do. Word of mouth marketing from your customers is probably the strongest form of marketing. Prior to the pandemic, it's just, business as usual. The pandemic taught me a lot, it's taught the entire world a lot, and we're still kind of somewhat in it. Some people taught me that a lot of people have fear. I talked to a lot of people on the phone who are looking into businesses, not now. Let me wait till this happens. They just look at the news. And really it's just fear. Fear and anxiety holds people back to doing anything. When I talk to clients or talk to anybody, staff, my staff, I say birds of a feather flock together. If you want to fly with the eagles, you can't be down scratching with the turkeys. Now, the pandemic is a real thing, and fear is a big thing for more people than others. Doesn't matter what political side of the spectrum you're on. I really don't care what you're on, but I respect the customer and respect my employees. So having employees going into people's homes, a lot of people have fear, well, there's a liability there. There is always a liability in anything you do. Very little liability that I've noticed, and Calvin, you're in the painting business. Could an employee knock something over? Anybody can knock something over, even including me, right? Just you work it out with the customer. But the mask thing was a big thing, being covered up. A lot of customers had a lot of fear who was coming in, that trust factor coming into their home, or maybe their business with Eric. So what I've learned from then to now is how to manage customers' expectations and build that level of trust and respect, and asking them up front, and having our technicians and our staff asking them, do they feel comfortable? What do they recommend? I mean, they are a customer. Obviously, if they don't want us in the door, we don't have to be in the door, or we can be a hardball and be like, well, we're going to do this anyway. But that's not respect, and you're not building trust when you kind of bulk a buck at a customer, because they can tell their friend, hey, this vendor, this company just doesn't really care about how you feel. So respecting everybody's perspective, and you may agree or disagree with the customer, and how you handle that, you have to be very sensitive, very careful, and remember, you're there to do a job. And our goal, and my staff's goal, is always to do high-level quality service. We're not about speed, and I think they're in the business that I'm in, that home service space. Everyone looks at contractors as just another, guy. Maybe it's a CertaPro painter. Oh, you're charging a higher price. I never bulk on price. My quality is what we pay. I mean, what we charge is based on quality. And if we're charging a higher price, am I willing to do something for somebody who's disabled, someone who's struggling? Yeah, absolutely. They don't have the cash. That could be me one day. Hopefully not, but you never know what life will bring you. But what it's taught me is to work with people's emotions, work with my staff's emotions, manage expectations. And when I'm talking to candidates looking at franchising, managing their fear, not now, we'll look at it later. Look, I tell anybody, if you're not going to do this now, like Eric just did this a year ago, he's brand new to the entrepreneurial seat. Me and Calvin are more seasoned by far, at least on this conversation. But Eric brings something different to the table. You're always going to have fear. There is no guarantees in life. When you go to work for somebody else, they don't care that you have a mortgage, rent, utilities, food. When they have to let you go, corporate executives cut you, and that's it. Your fault, and then I call that a false sense of security. When that paycheck is gone and you haven't invested that paycheck into something that generates you revenue, that's a problem. So in franchising, and a lot of people have a gimmick in franchising too. So this is a two-part question for me. People think that franchise, people don't realize that in a franchise system, the corporate staff gives you a lot of support up front. And when we become seasoned and you don't need them anymore, you forget why they were there to begin with. You didn't even know what the hell you were doing, excuse the language, when you first started. But when you get seasoned, it's about how do you scale your business? How do you grow your business? How do you take it to that next level? So we all play a part in a brand. The more you're a brand ambassador, so I'm a big advocate of being a brand ambassador. But anyways, I don't want to take too much more time. I'll let Calvin and Eric continue on. But that's kind of what I've learned, how to manage people and people's expectations.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. Eric, some of the things you mentioned as focuses for you right now are building your referral network and kind of leveraging that part of your business, and then also, figuring out that trust conversation when really your business is a no-brainer. There's no cost to the client, and the only way you make money is if you save them or get them money back, right? And so, what are the things that you're going to be doing? What's your action plan kind of going into this last quarter of the year that's going to help you, change the results from, the first 3 quarters going into the fourth?
Yeah, great question. I love it. Definitely what I'm focusing on right now is networking. Understanding, again, that the statistics don't lie, and that is that over 70% of all of our business comes through referrals, and in my case, it's closer to 90%. And so one of the things that I started doing, in fact, last month, was I was invited to a business networking group. There's multiple chapters, and I know there's multiple organizations throughout the country. And even though most of these attendees or members are business to consumer, they all know somebody. They know people. And it's up to me to conduct one-to-ones with these individuals and see if if they might know somebody. Everybody knows somebody. Everybody might know they may not know the CEO for a manufacturer, but maybe they go golfing with the superintendent of a school district, or maybe they know somebody that owns a restaurant group, or they work with somebody who might have multiple dental locations. So I'm focused 100%, not 100%, but mostly on networking and these networking groups. And again, it isn't enough just to attend and sit there and listen. I know that much is required from myself, and that is sitting down with each of these individuals and not having, I spoke earlier about expectations, not having expectations that they're going to feed me, but instead having the expectation, what can I do for them? And I truly believe that, givers gain, And if I truly find opportunities for, my counterparts and these associates, that have other businesses, that it's going to come back. It's definitely going to come back to me. But that's what I'm focused on right now. Even though I do a ton of cold calling and ton of drop-offs and cold work, my response rate's actually pretty high. However, again, I just can't get out of my head that most of our business is referral based, and if that's the case, I need to find out where I can find referrals. Sure.
And Eric, I know from looking at your background, you've been in sales, for as long as any of us. It's the old, hunting and farming, right? So it sounds like, you're kind of at that stage where you would like some of the hunting results, right? You like some of the early kills and things like that, but you've got, to build this business and to get the results and to meet those expectations. You're kind of more at the farming level where it's going to, reap that maybe down the road, right?
Yeah, definitely. Lots and lots and lots of seeds have been planted, without question. And, it's an all the time thing. It's not a sometime thing. And I think that's something that we have to be reminded, or at least I do, and be willing to be aware of.
Awesome. And Chris, same question to you. We've got about 1 minute left. What's the thing that you're focused on going into this fourth quarter?
Well, since I do so many different things, it's tough. From the service-based business with the Grout Medic and other businesses that I own, really focusing on culture and adding staff right now and getting ramped up for early spring. So getting new people trained, and also marketing. We're very unique in marketing. You probably do this, Calvin, but we always give gifts and flowers to our customers when we do stuff. We try to. Maybe it's a candle. Maybe it's not always flowers. We try to separate ourselves from the average contractor. From a consulting side, my partners and I, it's about exposing what's really out there from a franchise perspective. I'm a franchise owner. I'm a consultant. I work with all these brands that are on this podcast and way more. We help to manage your fears. So hiring more qualified individuals who can coach and guide people who have entrepreneurial backgrounds, experience, financial, and trying to guide somebody to find the right fit. Franchising and business ownership is definitely not for everybody. But if you're going to do it for yourself. Go after your goals and stop living somebody else's dreams and start living your own. We're all going to die one day. What are they going to say about you? Hey, we had Susie come over to work and she did a great job. They made me rich. I'm glad she came to work for me. Go build your own story. Go build your own dream. It's not impossible. Not every franchise costs hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. Every franchise on this episode is from $200,000 less. There's a lot of options. I can help you out to look at options, and these entrepreneurs here know exactly what it feels like to be in the same seat. So that's what I'm working on.
Awesome. Well, thank you both, Eric and Chris, for taking the time to join us this evening. We appreciate your candor and your input and the words of wisdom, and we wish you both the best of luck going into this fourth quarter of 2021. And for everyone listening, thanks for taking the time, and we'll look forward to visiting with you on the next episode. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. Eric, nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Calvin.